my arrogance, but ain't nobody stopping me. That's how I go when you pay for them shows and you study that pimp biology.
All righty. Bro, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is Yo Man's is Dead on Dave once again hitting you from Twitch. That's right, because we like to double tap it here because that is what we do now. We like to use the Twitch for the live shows, and then we go ahead and upload them over onto YouTube, which is now more of a support base because, fuck a YouTube. That's just how I am. What's going on? Hopefully you're all having a fantastic Thursday afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. Welcome on in. It is Thursday, January 23rd, 2020, and we're getting the shows going, man. This weekend is going to be heavy on shows. A little bit for everything. A little bit for everybody. Today we got sports and wrestling, all kinds of things we're going to talk about. Conor McGregor, MLB cheating scandal, a mascot going crazy and punching a kid. We got it all. Royal Rumble predictions, your guys' calls, questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, quips, quotes, likes, loves, and whatever else you might have for me. We're going to be talking about all of it today for the next, I'd say about an hour. So buckle up. What's up, Silver Surfer, Pyoxys, and Mr. Carl G. Make sure you guys go ahead and tweet out the stream. Let everybody know that we are live right now, hosted up as well. So it's been about a week since we've done a show here, or at least a talk show. We've been doing the live gaming streams each and every single day, which has been fantastic. But going into the weekend that is Royal Rumble, I feel like we really need to go ahead and just hit on everything tonight. Hit on all the things sports related, combat sports related, wrestling related, Royal Rumble related, NXT related. We might even talk a little about the Jericho cruise. No, we won't, because I don't care. And so much more. Make sure you guys are over on my Discord so you can get in and call in when it's time to take some callers. But let's go ahead and start with a couple of stories here, because we got some things that we're going to kind of gloss over and talk about just a small amount. And then we got some other things that we're going to get into a little bit more in depth. And I want to start in the regular sports world first. Conor McGregor. This is the oldest story that we got, so I figure it's a very good place to start. If you didn't know, Conor McGregor came back over the weekend for the first time in, a long time. Like 18 months since he had a fight. It's been like 3 years since he had a victory. And he came back against Donald Cerrone, the cowboy, the man who just takes incredibly tough fights, even on short notice. The dude is always down to clang and bang with anybody. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it really quick here, because people are shitting on Donald Cerrone. People are getting on the fight a little bit. Some people going as far as to say as the dominance that Conor McGregor demonstrated, and it was dominance, was staged. It was staged, but no, there's no way that it possibly was, especially with more information coming out now. So if you don't know what happened, Conor walked into the cage and in 40 seconds absolutely smoked Donald Cerrone. And he did it with superior technique, lightning fast quickness, and just brutality. He hit this man with some shoulder shots that I've only seen John Jones hit. John Jones is a guy who hits from all kinds of different angles, and he's a weird striker. You don't see a lot of people try the same type of moves, mainly because they can't pull them off. John Jones is so much bigger than so many of his opponents. He's you're right at head height all the time with his shoulders, so he just pops those shoulders in. Well, Conor has been training this in camp for the past year. Some videos came out about that, and he busted up Cerrone's face real hard with it, and the reality is Cerrone just couldn't recover. Now, what this means for Cerrone is it could be the end of the line. At the very least, it could mean a break. He's lost 3 in a row. And in the UFC, that typically is a death nail. However, when those 3 fights are against the number 1, the number 2, and the number 4 guy in the division, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to get released. Cerrone's a fan favorite. He's a tough guy to put away, man. He really is. It may not seem this way from the 40 seconds that he lasted against Conor, but I got to be honest with you. This was a different Conor McGregor. This was a different man that we have not seen in the UFC in a very long time. He looked so comfortable at 170 because, like he said many times leading up to the fight week, this is his natural weight. This is what he fights at. This is his thing. This is who he is. He walks around at 170, so not having to cut weight, not having to put your body through that torture. And if you've ever cut weight in your life, if you've ever been a wrestler, if you've ever done any competition, you know it's torture. It's hell. It's not a fun thing to go through. I was a wrestler for 3 years. 4 years, all 4 years of my high school career, Cut weight many times. It sucks. It's a hell dimension. It's a hell dimension wrapped in a fuck you sandwich. It is not fun, and everybody hates you because you're miserable. It really does suck. So just going through a whole fight preparation and not have to worry about that torture was pretty cool to see. We also saw a little bit different of a Conor McGregor from a respect standpoint. We saw him respect Cowboy throughout the entire process, even going as far as kissing his mother in the ring. Not his own mother. No, Donald Cerrone's mother or grandmother, I think it was. It was incredible to see. Amazing respect out of Conor, especially after domination that he showed. He's not really acting the same way that we've seen him in the past. Now, I can't say that's going to be the new Conor McGregor, because more than likely it won't be, especially if the rumors of the Habib fight is true. If that's coming up next, we know the hatred that lies there, and it's not going to dissipate just because Conor has found a new way. Now, there's also some rumors that Conor has gotten very religious in the past year or some change, so we'll see how that goes. Hey, Dave, you one of them queer homosexuals. Yes, I am a queer homosexual. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Catsby. This is going to YouTube after. Thank you, Terry, for the host. So I want to know what you guys think. You can keep this going in the comment section here or over on YouTube when we post it there, or hit me up on the Twitter. What do you think of Conor McGregor now that we've had about a week to sit on it, and just not only the performance, but where Conor McGregor is going? And do you like this new version that we saw? And is he a changed guy, or is it just kind of a new wrapping on the same old Conor? So we're going to move on from that, and we're going to continue to talk about some other shit in the world of sports, because there's a couple other things that I want to get to. Eli Manning, this is a pretty easy one to talk about. Eli Manning, long career in the NFL, good career in the NFL. Good career. Maybe not great career, depends on who you ask. 2 Super Bowl titles. He was instrumental in both of them. He's made some of the most iconic plays we've seen in his time in the NFL. He's attached to those plays. He's got the right name. He's got the right draft stock. He was drafted very high. And he had a very strong statistical career for the most part on some very bad New York Giants team. So having 2 different Super Bowl runs that were kind of identical in the way of getting hot at the right time and going through some teams that maybe they shouldn't have. You got to ask, now that the career is over and not ending in a very pretty way, is Eli a Hall of Famer? And the answer is I don't know. Because knee-jerk reaction, I want to say yes. I like Eli. I like the Manning family. He's got the right name. He did have a nice career, and the two rings are huge. The 2 rings are huge. You get 2 rings at the most important position in the game. It's kind of hard to not say his stats are not bad by any stretch. They're not legendary. They're not some over-the-top stats like his brother, but I think that he's going in. I think he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer by any stretch, but I could see Eli getting in at some point. You know, you got to figure. It's just the mystique around him is probably bigger than the actual career, because 2 titles are 2 titles, man. And that's an impressive thing. And he was the reason why they won those 2 titles. You know, you can lay both titles at his feet. So we'll see how it goes with him. That's another question I definitely want to ask you guys about, if you think Eli is going to the Hall of Fame. Eli is there are better players who haven't got any rings but still deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. I agree. No, Rodgers and Brady's a Hall of Fame. Well, yeah, Rodgers and Brady are Hall of Fame QBs, but those are elite. Those are all-time greats. That's not just Hall of Fame quarterbacks you just named. That's all-time greats. Boomer Esiason and shit, I think, is in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? There are lower tiers of quarterbacks who have made it into the Hall of Fame, and I think Eli's more in that category than you can't compare Eli to Rodgers and Brady. And the thing is, Eli's got 2 rings. Rodgers has uno ring, but Rodgers is still an all-time great. We're talking about at the end of their careers, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are going to go down as two of the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks to ever live. Two of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks to ever live, with Brady being number 1. And I think you could slide Aaron Rodgers from a talent level anywhere from 2 to 6. And I'm a fucking Bears fan. I can't stand him. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. But I put Aaron Rodgers ahead of Brett Favre, especially considering he still has some more years left on his career. I put Aaron Rodgers against. I can't stand Brett Favre's career. The interception throwing, gunslinging machine that was Brett Favre, but Aaron Rodgers was a different man altogether. The Ghost says Eli is more Dan Marino. No, he doesn't have the stats for Dan Marino. I don't think he's got those same stat lines, and he's got something more valuable. Marino's a Hall of Famer and an all-time great, by the way. Dan Marino is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live, and he's by far the greatest player to not win a Super Bowl. You got when Peyton and Brett and Drew and Tom and Aaron started breaking all the records, whose record were they breaking? Dan fucking Marino's. Let's not forget, Dan Marino's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. Eli's not there. He's not on that level. And Dan Marino was also a first ballot Hall of Famer. Eli's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. So we'll see how that goes. But I do think he will go to the Hall of Fame, but it'll take him a few shots at it. Silver Surfer, I think he is. There are only a few players that won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. And that's the thing that'll get him in. Because he not only won 2 rings at the most important position on the field, he won 2 rings while being the most important person on those teams. He was the reason they won those 2 rings. He was the MVP in both those games. Incredibly impressive. And he's got Pro Bowls. He's got those type of accolades. It's not like he doesn't have the stats to back it up, but he's not a surefire guy. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, hence why there's discussion. And he also played on a lot of really, really horseshit giant teams that on paper had a lot of goddamn talent. You know, for the first half of his career, he had all of the talent in the world on defense. You know, with the human gap sack machine, Michael Strahan, and missing fucking thumb, O.C. Umenyiora. There was a whole bunch of people like that. Or who was it who was missing a thumb? It was Stratham? Not the actor, but the other one. There was another guy who blew his damn hand off. Who was that guy? It wasn't Umenyiora. I can't remember who it was, but still. Very funny shit. And then in the second half of his career, he had guys like Victor Cruz and OBJ and all these wonderful running backs and stuff. They had a lot of talent around him, so good tight ends during that time as well, but they couldn't get it done. They couldn't get it done. But that may not all be on Eli. He was also an incredibly oversacked quarterback as well. I don't think that's really going to matter because nobody cares at the end of the day how many times he got sacked. Just the fact that you got sacked. And I think he's going in the Hall of Fame. But it'll probably be year 2 or 3 or maybe even 4. He's certainly not a first ballot guy. But I got a feeling his career is going to be one of those that appreciates in value the longer he's away from the game. And don't ever count out the fact that he's a Manning. That's a big name. That's a big name. All right, now we want to switch gears to the NHL. We're hitting all 4 sports basically on this one. This is nice. All the big sports we're hitting. I don't think I have a basketball story yet. Instead Zion Williamson came back last night. Zion Williamson finally made his NBA debut, scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. But other than that, as my boy Reanimator said, kind of looked like a tubby shit out there at times. But still, 17 points in the fourth quarter, nothing to sneeze at. So there you go. Now we hit the NBA as well. Got an NHL story. Now, typically, the rule of thumb is don't talk about the NHL for any more than 3 minutes or you will lose viewership. Well, luckily, nobody's watching anyway, so it's not a big deal. This is a funny story, though. So this comes out of Philadelphia, the shitbag capital of the world, if you ask me. There's no sports teams I like in Philadelphia. I hate them all. I hate all of them. And I don't even have a reason to hate them. I hate the Eagles, I hate the Phillies, I hate the Flyers, and I hate those motherfucking 76ers. I hate them all. Every single one of them. Line them up. Fucking hate them. Always have, always will. Couldn't really tell you why. But God damn it, are they not entertaining folk from time to time? Whether it's, the booing Santa Claus or if it's just mascots wilding out, and that's exactly what we have here with this story. I'm going to read it straight from the story here because the title is pretty misleading because this could be a non-story. This might end up being a complete non-story because it is even in the article. Once you read the article, it's pretty heavily disputed. So this is from Thomas Williams of NHL Hockey Yahoo Sports Canada. And this is what he writes. Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot that went viral throughout last season, is being accused of punching a 13-year-old boy in the back. According to reports, the Flyers held an exclusive event for season ticket holders with the availability to have pictures taken with their superstar mascot, Gritty. During that time, 13-year-old Brandon Greenwell allegedly patted the mascot on the head after their photo was taken. As the boy started walking away, the googly-eyed mascot took a running start, in quotes, and punched Brandon as hard as he could. This is according to his father. After a month after the alleged assault, now this is important too. It's been a month. The Comcast about a month after the alleged assault, and Comcast Spectator, the owners of the Flyers and the Greenwells, could not agree on a settlement, and the father and son reported the event to Philadelphia police. So it took a month of negotiating. So these both parties, the father and son, and the owners of the Flyers met and talked about resolving this, couldn't come to an agreement, basically meaning the father and son didn't get as much as they wanted out of the deal. Absolutely amazing. And decided to go public. And they contacted the Philadelphia police. The investigation is active and ongoing, the police told the Philadelphia Inquirer. The Flyers and the Comcast Spectator offered special bonuses to the family despite no physical evidence of the altercation. This is where it gets interesting. I have investigated your allegations and cannot identify anyone who witnessed the incident as you described it. And that was from Lori Kleinman, Vice President of Risk Management at Comcast Spectator, in an email to Greenwell. It's unfortunate that you and your son had a bad experience at our Gritty photo event. Therefore, we are offering an opportunity to discuss a creative way to restore your son's love of the Philadelphia Flyers. The two sides are still in disagreement. Philadelphia has become notorious for physical attacks coming from their mascots. This is very true. We've seen this over the years. The Fanatic has earned the title of most sued mascot in the majors because of multiple reports coming from the fans. After a report of an allegation spread, the Flyers issued a statement regarding the incident. We took Mr. Greenwell's allegations seriously and conducted a thorough investigation and found nothing to support his claim. This isn't a serious inquiry yet. Greenwell hasn't hired a lawyer, but it can turn orange and ugly very soon. So that was what the article said. Now, this is interesting to me for a whole lot of different reasons. The story doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. This is a fan event, so there would have been more people there. Somebody would have saw this shit happening. We are in the era of cell phones. We are in the era of capturing nobody saw this shit. Nobody saw a gigantic mascot punch a 13-year-old kid in the back. I mean, come on. So I don't know what actually happened here, but it doesn't really seem like it's a very serious allegation. It certainly doesn't seem like it's going to hold water, and it does not seem like it's convincing anyone. But anything can change, and maybe something is going to come from it. I don't know. Maybe they should have just took the deal if that's what they wanted to do. But I'm going to give a little bit of credit to the Flyers, because they seem to be trying to reach out and actually fix something here. You know, we want to restore your child's love of the Flyers, which is a nice thing to say and probably some very big truth to it. But still, something doesn't make sense here, and I don't understand. Yeah, you're right, Carl. Only if Onision would have been in attendance. We know he would have filmed this. That's 100% true. GunCannon. Gritty is now serving a 3-month jail sentence and will be taking an anger management program for the next year and a half. I don't think so, because there doesn't seem to be anything to validate the claims. So, and that's a good thing, too. I like that it's finally happening, you know? Terry, Dave, stop talking. I have to go to the bathroom. I don't want to miss anything. Hate to break it to you, sweetheart. The world don't revolve around you. Pee yourself, girl. I don't give a fuck. All right, moving on. Don't worry, you don't want to hear the next story anyway, I'm sure, because it's about Major League Baseball. This is an older story now. This is a couple of weeks old. Everyone knows about it, the MLB cheating scandal that has swept. And look, some people are saying the story's been overblown. Other people think that the story's been underblown. I'm kind of in that camp. I'm a little bit surprised that more people don't give a fuck about this shit. Now, if you don't know what happened, there are 2 World Series winning teams that have had direct ties to sign stealing at a electronic level. Now, we still don't know how far the rabbit hole goes. There's all kinds of internet speculation that it may have even went as far as electronic buzzers underneath the clothing that were relaying the pitches that they were going to be receiving from the pitcher. Now, that's a heavy advantage. And I got some problems with it. Sign stealing is something that has been in baseball for a long time. It's not a big shock. It's not something that gets frowned upon, because when it's done on the field. Players trying to peek in a little bit and seeing between the catcher's legs as they're throwing down the signs. Not a big deal, and they relay the information to the batter. Not a big deal. That's baseball. It's part of it, and as long as you don't get caught, no one really ever seems to bat an eye. But whenever you start using electronics, and this was, we have the Patriots to kind of thank for this, and Spygate, everything that went on with that, something so bad and heinous that Congress and the Senate had to fucking get involved, spending millions of tax dollars to fucking try this goddamn case with no fucking resolution. So I think people are a little bit pissed off and irritated just at the mere mention of electronics back in the spotlight, especially in a sport like baseball, where it seems it's really underhanded to do. So basically, the most verified version of the story goes like this. You had people on the wall for the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox, respectively, and they were videotaping the signs with a high resolution lens that could focus in, and there were screens and such in the dugout or in the clubhouse, and they were able to relay the signs to the pitchers. Now, the interesting part of the story for me is how it really got broken. Now, there was a pitcher, Mike Fiers, who did come forward, but that wasn't until just some internet schmuck actually broke this story. So during the World Series a couple years ago, just an internet guy who likes baseball and he does some reporting and stuff like that, he actually was able to notice, and he posted, you can go check these stories out, they're very cool. He was able to post and notice that there were banging coming out of the clubhouse whenever a fastball was thrown, which is really interesting. This guy was able to tell that, and then it turned out to be very true, and they were getting hits off this. If you know when a fastball is coming, or if you know when the big deuce is coming, you're able to adjust, and it's a huge advantage. It's not the same as just getting information from the second base, runner. That gives you some, but you don't have a lot of time to react to it. If you can have an audible clue or some sort of buzzer or something that gives you that advantage seconds, 5-6 seconds before the pitch is thrown, you're able to, and especially if you're able to know where the location is, that's a huge advantage. Now, I don't know how serious I feel this is. Part of me feels that this is pretty goddamn serious. Like one of the worst cheating scandals we've had in baseball in a very long time. Personally, I'd rather have them steroiding up. I'd rather them be on the juice. I really would. I don't want to live in a game where and I love baseball. You got to keep that in mind too. I don't want to live in a game. I don't want to be watching a game where I know that everybody knows everything. The unpredictability of baseball and the ability to try to switch up and change a guy's perspective, the eye level, off-speed pitches. This is important to a pitcher. And the game is already so heavily lopsided against the pitcher right now that home runs are up. There are more home runs leaving the ballpark than ever before in Major League Baseball, and it's been on a steady incline for a very long time. Every year, they're basically shattering a new record for home runs hit. which is crazy. There's already so much offense in the game. Games are lasting forever. They're on for the umpteenth fucking hour. We can't have the integrity of the game to be bastardized in such a way. You know, the last time that it really was, this is when the strike happened. Now, this was for a different reason. It killed baseball. But that's because people felt betrayed by it. And that's what I thought might happen again. When you have 2 world titles, 2 different teams, world champions now, that when anybody looks at those 2 years, they have to associate cheating with electronic devices. I think it really does sully the sport. It takes away from the integrity of what we're trying to accomplish with the game. And it pisses me off. Now, I don't think that we should be stripping titles. For some reason, I think that's too far. Now, that might be a little bit of hypocrisy. If I'm so outraged and I'm so angry, wouldn't I want those 2 titles stripped? I can't go that far. I don't know why I can't, but there's something that's not allowing me to. Maybe it's because I'm okay with things like PEDs and stuff like that, that I just can't get to that next level of outrage. And maybe it's also because there's already been such big ramifications. Les does not forget, there's been 3 managers essentially run out of the game. 3 guys gone. 2 World Series winning managers and a manager that never even got to get going. And the problem here is it affects New York teams, which is always a big deal because it's the biggest media market in the world. The Yankees were affected twice by these scandals. And then the New York Mets have lost their manager in Carlos Beltran, which, by the way, love Joe Martin's line that that Carlos Beltran's punishment should have been that he actually had to go and coach the fucking Mets, that he actually had to go and manage that fucking train wreck of a team. I thought that was really funny. But still, this is, to me, a pretty big deal, mainly because you don't want to see electronics. And we live in this world where replay and electronics are becoming such a part of all the sports. And we have so many things that are being dictated by electronics and by technology. To have that technology that is now altering the games and altering the outcomes, it just feels wrong to me. And it's really, especially in baseball, because of the fact that they're considering going to an electronic strike zone, thus relegating the umpires to nothingness. GunCannon. Okay, I have to come clean. I cheated when making frames for Dave. I use an electronic device to listen in on conversations to make things for Dave that match what he wants. I hope coming clean will help me move on. Shut up. Shut up, and I hate you. All right, that's enough of the baseball. Let's go get into the wrestling. We got a lot of wrestling stuff to get into, and we're going to go from least important to most important because there is a lot. Mostly NXT stuff. I want to get into 2 of those because we had 2 significant things happen on NXT last night. We had Bianca Belair, who 3 weeks ago, won a battle royal to become the new #1 contender to the wondrous, man, I forgot her goddamn name now. The Aussie chick. She's so hot. Oh, God, I forgot her name. But the new champion over there, then I'll tell you why I didn't call her a woman's champion in just a moment. But what's really crazy about this, so Bianca Belair becomes the new #1 contender. Yeah, Rhea Ripley. Thank you, Mascot. Rhea Ripley. Sorry about that. Rhea Ripley. Bianca Belair becomes the new #1 contender. But it appears as if that is going to be completely irrelevant. The fact that they had the Battle Royal, the whole shebang-a-bang, it doesn't seem that it's going to matter because now Io Shirai and Toni Storm appear to be headed into this feud for a fatal 4-way is now going to be more than likely the way that this whole situation is going to be determined. Mainly because I think they realize nobody cares about Bianca Belair. Nobody cares about Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, but Io Shirai, especially with all the reports of Io Shirai potentially leaving NXT and going back to Japan because she doesn't seem to be happy with her current usage, and she's away from her boyfriend, who also works in Japan, and Toni Storm, who also I think a lot of people are a little bit disappointed in how she's been used. So you put these 2 incredibly amazing stars. And then they had a hell of a match last night on NXT, by the way. And you instantly put some more juice into everything that's going to be going forward with Rhea Ripley. And hopefully this will help Bianca Belair get over a little bit more. And I do think Bianca Belair has an incredible amount of talent. I do. But there's something that doesn't connect with me. I don't know if it's her body. I don't know if it's the hair. I don't know if it's because she does come off as very gimmicky with the athleticism, and it is impressive. I don't know what it is, but something doesn't connect fully for me to where she is a legitimate number one contender to the NXT Championship. I can't believe that that's what we're calling it now, but it is, and that leads us to another story that I'll get into in one moment, because that is something else altogether. And I'm trying to keep my composure about it. I don't want to lose my mind about it. I don't want to rant about it, but Jesus Christ, does it bother me because of its just sheer stupidity. But before that, Keith Lee is the new NXT North American Champion. Holy shit. Long time coming, or at least it feels like it's a long time coming. Keith Lee hasn't really been around all that long in NXT, but because of the impact that he has and how incredible of a spectacle he is, and that's the really great thing about Keith Lee. Not only is he a good wrestler, a very good wrestler, a phenomenal athlete, he's a spectacle. He looks like the motherfucker from Green Mile. You know what I mean? Michael Clark Duncan and shit, but in wrestling form. And he's this mound of mass and bulk and power and energy. And he's got this really cool demeanor and way of talking. And he's got some cool catchphrases like the whole bask in his glory type thing. He's just got this really cool thing about him. He's a highlight reel. He's able to do things, feats of strength that we don't see out of guys who aren't just muscle on top of muscle on top of muscle. He's kind of a bigger, blacker, obviously, version of Kevin Owens in some ways that focuses more on power and strength than just the defying what your body's limitations tell us he's supposed to be able to do like Kevin Owens does. Keith Lee is just incredible. Yeah, baby. And, you know, the thing about Keith Lee that I really do respect is every time that he gets in front of a big audience, he just balls out. You know what I mean? He puts on these shows and everybody talks about him. Jesus Christ, somebody said it the other day and it made a lot of sense to me. That weekend where he stole a lot of Survivor Series weekend with some of the things that he did, it feels like it was 2 years ago already. And it's because when he goes back on NXT television, he's getting used in a lot of really less than favorable ways, kind of boring ways, not a lot of cool stuff going on with him. That is until recently. Because the reality is you got to start using guys like this, man. You can't slow burn everybody. You can't put everybody in endless enhancement talent matches. You can't put them in weird segments constantly. You gotta push forward with some of these people, because if you don't, you're going to. But here's the problem. You see, if you don't push them too fast, then you got to worry about them getting bored. But if you go really, really hard with them, like we've seen with Shinsuke Nakamura, with even Bobby Roode, with Samoa Joe, with Kevin Owens, with Sami Zayn, with Neville, with the list, Finn Balor, the list is fucking endless. Andrade, McIntyre, all these guys, Aleister Black, all these guys who had these amazing championship runs in NXT, and then when they get up to the main roster, nothing's going on with them, and now we feel like they've already established themselves, and then they're lower mid-card guys for a year or 2 years, or sometimes never getting a shot. You know, it's kind of frustrating when that happens, because it happens so frequently. If it happens with a guy like Keith Lee, it feels like it's a bigger tragedy and travesty because of how good he is. I don't know if NXT has had a can't-miss guy quite like Keith Lee. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's been a guy quite like him. With all of the, not only his athletic ability and his wrestling ability, But that attraction, that spectacle, that Andre the Giant element that you just can't fabricate. Either you have that, the closest might have been like a guy like Drew McIntyre, who's got that amazing look and you can't help but take your eye off him, but it's for a different reason. He's just man as fuck. Keith Lee is like this walking aura of energy and angst and power, and you're almost in awe of him when you watch what he does. You know what I mean? It's so rare in today's product to have a guy like that, to have that same spectacle that, like, say, Braun Strowman has, but then have more than just the athletic ability that Braun can run really fast. Let's face it. They love to highlight the fact that Braun runs fast, but he doesn't really do much more than that. And he gets relegated to all these fucking hokey-ass comedy scenes. And it kills him. It kills any vibe that he has. It kills any interest that he has. There's nothing there that makes you really want to care about him. And now he's just a joke. But now we have a guy like Keith Lee that seems to be able to do everything, all of it, and maintain this incredible aura of invincibility, of power, of strength. And now he is your new North American NXT champion, which is a big deal because Roderick Strong was a hell of an NXT North American champion. Now, one of the better ones that they've had. This was a fantastic run by Roddy in a fantastic era, the Undisputed Era, one of the better factions that we've seen in all of wrestling for quite a long time. And yes, Gunny, that great ability he has of ejecting people into crowds like Adam Cole. But you know what? I'm going to give Adam Cole a little bit more credit on that bump than I will Keith Lee, because who bumps like Adam Cole? There ain't a lot of people left in the industry that don't look hokey. Like, Ziggler's a great example. Ziggler's a great bumper, but he looks hokey when he bumps. He looks lame. Adam Cole doesn't look lame when he bumps. He looks like that shit hurted. You know what I mean? Which is a big deal. So I'm going to give Adam Cole a little bit of credit there because he's phenomenal as well. But having Keith Lee beat Roderick Strong, become the new North American champion is a very big deal, and I can't wait to see what happens. And he's got a chance to have himself a big weekend too. There's rumors, a lot of rumors of him going around and maybe possibly making a long run, maybe even winning the Royal Rumble. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Before we get to our Rumble predictions, before we get to you guys calling in and telling me what you think of the Royal Rumble, by the way, you can go ahead and jump in to Waiting the Call on my Discord anytime you like. We got to talk about a story that I'm not exactly happy with. And maybe you could talk me off a ledge. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe. So, over the last 24 hours, a story has emerged coming out of WWE Backstage where Becky Lynch talked about dropping women's from the women's title name. Meaning, no more WWE Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, no more SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. She thinks, and some people actually support this, and I thought maybe she was crazy when she said this, but after what happened today, she's not. Dropping the terminology from the titles and just calling them Raw Champion, SmackDown Champion. And now it's actually coming to fruition with the NXT Championship, because now they have officially dropped women's from that moniker, and they will be calling the NXT Women's Champion just the NXT Champion. Now, the obvious problem is, well, that's fucking confusing, because we already have an NXT Champion. It's the male division, and a lot of times they talk about, you know, the men's champion. They'll say that sometimes, maybe not all the time, but they will say it to differentiate. You know why? Because it's a male division. It's a female division. It's the whole reason why we have these divisions. And I think there's something self-defeating in Becky's argument, because Becky's like, we're outshining the men, which is fucking not true. We're making all this history. We're doing all these things. Why does there have to be a line? You made history because you elevated the woman's division. You took a division that is populated by women and only ever men get in it when it's supposed to be a joke or something funny or to be a complete bitch of the division and have a man be emasculated, which we've had many times with James Ellsworth, Santino Marella. The list goes on and on. There's quite a few guys who have done that over the years. And it's because divisions are kind of important. Because, and I've talked about this with Tessa Blanchard. You know what I mean? I've talked about this with Tessa Blanchard. I don't like the idea of women fighting men because the reality is no matter how good someone like Tessa Blanchard is, unless you're Nia Jax, unless you're Awesome Kong, unless you're a woman who's 300 pounds and up, 6 foot and up, it's hard for anybody, I think, and maybe I'm just a misogynist apparently, but it's hard for anybody to actually honestly believe that if a man were to blast any of these women in the face with a punch that they hit another man with, that they'd be able to continue to fight, let alone go on to beat them in a match. It just, there's something that you can't, and maybe I'm just not woke enough, but there's something that you can't suspend that much disbelief. Becky Lynch is like 140 pounds. I just we're supposed to believe that she can go one-on-one with Braun Strowman or the best fucking male athletes that they had. No, this is dangerous. There is some dangerous thought that goes on with this, and it might get some women beat in relationships. It might get some women fucked up in the streets. It's blurring a line that I don't think needs to be blurred. I like having different divisions. I like having one division that I could watch for this reason and one division I could watch for another reason. Now, a lot of people have made this correlation, and said, well, why don't we just drop the W from the WNBA? And it's just kind of funny. We're having this story come up at the same time where Kobe Bryant has said, he named 3 women, Diana Taurasi is one of them, that said he believes that they could go into the NBA and hang with the boys. I don't see it. I don't see it. They're not as fast. It's just not there. The physical attributes just aren't there. They're going to get swatted. They're not going to get shots off. They're 5'7". Like Diana Taurasi is not that tall. Yeah, and she's even being a 3-point dynamo that she is, she's going to get swatted. The angles are different. Boobs make a difference. All these things matter when we're talking about the differences between men and women. And maybe this isn't the most PC thing in the world to say anymore, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially when we're talking about a thing like wrestling, where it's about physicality. So if we're going to drop the women's division name, are we just dropping all divisions? So they're all just superstars now and everyone's created equal. And then, so now we all have to book them differently. Does this mean that men can now come in and kick people's fucking asses in the women's division? Does that mean Braun Strowman can jumpstart his career by going and winning every women's division title that there is? This is just confusing to me, and it doesn't make a lot of sense because we all know it's not going to go the other way. It's not going to go that way. They're not going to let Braun Strowman go wreck all these women. They're not going to let that happen. You know, and the cool thing is, with the way that they've always done it, when we do have people like Nia Jax, when we do have people like Awesome Kong, when we do have people like Beth Phoenix, when we do have people like China that eventually that do compete with remember, China was an intercontinental champion who beat the likes of Chris Jericho and Eddie fucking Guerrero, and she did it fairly convincingly to a point. Those matches were still very heavily protecting China. We got to remember that. Go back and watch those matches sometimes. There's a lot of assist going on from Eddie Guerrero. There's a lot of assisting going on from Chris Jericho. It's just because there's such a different dynamic. It's just the reality of the situation. You know, and I almost feel bad saying this. I think it's because there's a little bit of fear from saying something like this nowadays. But it's an infuriating thing that we even have to have this conversation. It's like if women are at the reality is women have been at the fucking main event of Raw for the past year now almost, and they're not drawing. They're not drawing. Ratings are going steadily fucking down. This woke culture is killing professional wrestling. And it's not just with male, female things. It's the dick flipping. It's all these ridiculous things that we're seeing on the independents. It's the 145-pound guys that are going over everybody. These flippy-dippy, over-dramatic fucking gymnastic routines that we're seeing. It's killing the product. It's making it so unbelievable that it's simply not cool anymore. It's not fun. We can see this form of athleticism and other things. We don't need to see it in the ring. You're taking away our ability to be surprised, to be shocked, to be enamored, to believe, to suspend that disbelief. You're taking it away. It just makes no sense to me. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know where this goes from there. Does Becky Lynch main event WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar? Is that what we're talking about? Are we going to feed fucking Becky Lynch to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? Is Becky going to show up as the number 30 participant in the men? Why is there a women's Royal Rumble then? Why is there a women's Royal Rumble? Why did they have to have their own Royal Rumble? What's the point of this? Is it just going to be called Royal Rumble 1 and Royal Rumble 2? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? This is insane. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills right now. It makes no sense. Are we going to put Becky Lynch over 29 male competitors and have her go take on Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania? That's going to draw? Get the fuck out of here. This is craziness to me. I just don't understand it. Maybe I'm not intellectually woke enough. Maybe I'm not PC enough. Maybe I'm just too toxically man to believe this shit. But I am. I can't believe it. I can't get there. It just doesn't work for me. It makes no sense. And it's insulting. It's intellectually insulting in a sport that's already intellectually insulting. Wrestling is supposed to insult you. You know these people are supposed to be hurt from what you're seeing, yet we decide to flip that off and just believe it anyway. Now they're taking it to a step where Sami Callihan is bashing somebody's fucking brains in, and yet Tessa Blanchard's still able to continue to go, even though her brain was just bashed in with a fucking baseball bat. It makes no sense. It's why ECW only had the limitations that they had. They could only go so far because eventually New Jack happens. That's the reality. Eventually that line gets pushed to reality. It has to. It has to. It's just how it's always been. Backyard wrestling. There's your line. They're not protecting each other in those backyard wrestling matches. They're cutting each other open the hard way. They're putting each other through light bulbs, which, spoiler, you cannot fucking protect yourself going through a fucking light bulb. You can't do it. There's no protection at all. Zero. There is protection with tacks. Believe it or not. There's a lot of things that they do that if you know about physics and you know how spacing happens with body mass, it's not really all that painful. You know? But I digress. Because I'm just sounding like an angry man right now. It makes me mad that I'm watching the sport that I love so much die in this manner. Numbers are down. No, I'm not even going to go that far, Terry. I'm not even going to say women need to stay in their lane. I could see mixed tag team once in a while, but the women are supposed to be building for the women's revolution. Right. I don't know about staying in the lane. I don't want to be like, stay in your kitchen, women. I don't want to be that. I want to go that fucking far. But you know what I mean? It's just like, build the divisions for what they're supposed to be. We don't need to drop monikers. We don't need to be gender fluid. Are we just going to, like, how did, fuck Becky Lynch, fuck Seth Rollins? Does that mean that there's no longer any gender lines in that? Is Seth getting I just don't understand the meaning, how far this is supposed to go. We are equals, but we're not. You know what I mean? Women are superior to men in some way, and men are superior to women in some ways. It's just the reality. There are things that I know that I can't fucking do that most women can, and there are things that men can do that most women can't. It's just why is this so divisive to say? Why is it such a hard and rotten thing? I just don't fucking get it. Just makes me crazy. And you shut up with Orange Cassidy, GunCannon. Good Lord. I need a fucking drink. Okay. So before we get into the Royal Rumble predictions, we're going to also open up the Discord if you want to come in and talk to me about the Royal Rumble. Now is the time for that. We're going to smoothly transition over there. But the reality is I'm pretty fired up. So there's a lot of things that I want to talk about when it comes to the Royal Rumble, different spoilers that are possibly happening and all of that. And we'll get into that in just a moment. As like with the game streaming, we do have the absinthe shots and the beer chugs available. If we hit $15 on any stream, we will either take a shot of the absinthe, 55.5% alcohol shots, or a beer chug for you. Feel free to support the channel because after that rant, I feel like I need it. Let's get into the Royal Rumble. My prediction is Becky Lynch is going to enter number 30 and beat Brock Lesnar. She's going to eliminate Brock Lesnar, and then Brock Lesnar and Becky Lynch for the title at WrestleMania. And this will be after, because we're going to make it even more confusing, this will be after Asuka, no, even better, Asuka beats Becky Lynch for the title. Becky enters the Women's Battle Royal Rumble and loses, and then she enters the Men's Royal Rumble at 30 and beats Brock Lesnar, then challenging him on the next night for the main event of WrestleMania. I just booked it. That's what all this shit is leading to. You heard it here first, motherfuckers. You heard it here first. Fucking A. All right. So, men and women's Royal Rumbles happening, if we could still call them that way. It is happening on Sunday. The women's Royal Rumble does not seem to be very filled up. There's still a lot of slots, a lot of surprises, even though because of how many women there are available, I don't know how many surprises there really are. Like, we're pretty sure we'll see Trish. We'll see Lita. We'll see, Nia Jax return. We'll probably see Naomi return. Anyone we haven't seen in a very long time, we're probably going to see. Maybe we'll get another Ivory. Maybe Victoria. There's a whole bunch of people that we might get. Maybe we'll get some women from TNA that are no longer in that company that used to have a little bit of a faction. Who knows? There's a lot of different possibilities, but really nothing all that shocking. Maybe a Melina sighting happens? I don't fucking know. But that's pretty much going to be it. And then we'll have, someone win. That's probably possibly a Lacey Evans after she loses inevitably to Bayley. Sasha Banks is one of the heavy favorites for the Royal Rumble as well. So I don't know. It seems a little bit strange to me that this year there's a juxtaposition between the women's and the men's Royal Rumble. Well, by the way, I'm not even 100% sure there should be a women's Royal Rumble just because of what we're talking about, just because of exactly what we're saying right now, because there isn't a lot of women in that division to fill up the ring. They're stretching at 30 people. Oh, Melina's an NWA now? Well, never mind that. That's out of bounds. That ain't happening. So let's look at we're looking at some betting sites and see who the odds-on favorites are for the both men and women. Shayna Baszler, who recently lost the NXT Women's Championship, is the favorite to win the Women's Royal Rumble at -330. Charlotte Flair is closely behind her at plus 200 odds. And after that with Ronda Rousey, who is at plus 1,000. Sasha Banks at plus 1,300. Rhea Ripley at 1,500. Ruby Riott, who should also be making her return very soon. She's up there as well, like plus 4,000. Paige, who's retired, but it looks like she is going to be returning to the ring. She's got a pretty big hit there at plus 45. So we'll see. I know Nia Jax is also rumored, but that seems to be the case for the Whammons. In the men, it seems like Roman Reigns is the favor at the moment, but we'll see how that goes. He's a -500 favorite for the Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar is actually the second favorite, followed by Drew McIntyre. Then we got Cain Velasquez. CM Punk has got pretty high odds. Well, CM Punk and Edge. There are only 5 slots in the men's Royal Rumble for surprises. 5. 25 slots have already been announced. So we got 5 more slots. And it looks like, we could fill that up real easily. We could fill that up really quick. Undertaker, John Cena, Edge, CM Punk, Booker T. That's the 5 probably. There's a good chance that's the 5. Or maybe not a CM Punk, maybe not an Edge. But, I mean, you could fill this up fairly easy with whoever you want. As far as surprises goes, there's just simply not a lot left, which is going to make it a little bit anticlimactic because surprises are such an important part of the Royal Rumble. But if you get the right 5 guys, if it's the right 5 people, then it could be pretty interesting. It could be a lot of fun. You know, they could space out these 5 and have 5 really big shots in the arm for this Rumble and make it something special. Now, I personally feel it's going to be Brock Lesnar coming out of this thing. They seem to be building Brock to be the guy that is above everybody else in the division. They're going to have to bring somebody else in from outside the company. He's already made this promo a couple times where he's saying that there's nobody in the company who could possibly even beat him at the moment. So it's like, who are they going to book in there? They've already shit on the entire division for the Raw men. They've shit on everybody. There's nobody who could beat this motherfucker? Really? Like, is Daniel Bryan, after he probably loses to The Fiend, is he going to be possibly going over? I don't want to see... I know I'm hearing the Tyson Fury thing. Please, God, Lord, help me. If Tyson Fury and Brock Lesnar, that needs to be the opening match. It needs to be the opening match. And what do? Brock continues to win, and then we have no champion on Raw? One of the problems that I think that we have with both Raw and SmackDown is neither champion is very visible. Yeah, we'll see some little sneak attacks by The Fiend, but he never wrestles. Brock only shows up when the big events are coming, and he only gets into the ring and does a promo with Paul Heyman, and that's it. It's the same thing. We have no big champions. We have nobody anchoring the companies anymore. So who the fuck could possibly even be the next guy who wins the Royal Rumble? I'm wondering who you guys think it's going to be. I mean, I like guys like Drew McIntyre. I really don't have a problem with Roman Reigns being the guy. I don't. I know some people are still going to have an issue, but I don't. Andrade makes sense to me. Keith Lee, who we just talked about, makes a lot of sense. And I know I'm stealing that from CM Punk, but Keith Lee makes a lot of sense. You got to get a rocket ship on this guy eventually. But it's like, I just don't know who to trust anymore. Roman, I'm going to say, won't win because it seems like they already have him booked for Bray anyway. You don't need Roman to win to have him in the title match for SmackDown. You already have a collision course happening with Bray. We know it's coming. It's right around the corner. These two have been dancing around each other for so long. Bray, one of Bray's lines before he became the Fiend was, "It's always you, Roman. Always." So these two are arch nemesis, and it makes a lot of sense. So you don't need Roman to win. Raw needs a guy to win this thing and be convincing. So how's it going to work? There's a couple of ways they can do this. Now, the thing that makes the most sense to me, and I'll repeat what I've said a couple of times now, is you have Brock come in at number 1, and either he goes the distance and wins the fucking thing, or is eliminated last by somebody we're not expecting, or he's eliminated immediately by a returning guy. And I don't see it being Edge. It could be CM Punk, but John Cena just continues to make sense to me. Now, John has been doing the media stuff, and I know that John is also filming a movie. He's doing Suicide Squad, so he doesn't really make a lot of sense right now either. But John has been stating that, you know, when he does come back, it's not going to be about him. He is apparently turned down winning the title again on numerous occasions, which this would only make sense if Cena is going to come back and get that 17th title run, you know, which I think they should give it to him. I don't understand why they're not giving it to him. Let this happen. It's been danced around for so long. So why the fuck will we not have it? I don't understand. Let's make it fucking a thing. You know, Jesus Christ, we know that Cena's earned it. You know, maybe people don't want to admit that, but Cena's been an incredible guy for a long time in the company. He's earned everything that he's gotten. Why not let him fucking have one of his arch nemesis one more time? But I think if Cena is in there, I do think it'll end up being a way to get another match with The Undertaker. I think Taker will come and eliminate Cena, or Cena will eliminate Taker, and that way they could build one more little angle between those two. And that way you don't have to step on any of the younger guys, which I like that as well. But the problem is we've seen that. We've had that happen already, so we really need to see it again. So that leaves me with someone like CM Punk. Because that makes sense to me on a bunch of different levels as well. Can CM Punk returning catch Brock Lesnar off guard enough for that to be the guy? Or should we just go completely out of left field or to a lower degree and just put over one of these NXT guys? Either somebody who is currently in, like Adam Cole, or Aleister Black, who has been on the Raw roster for a while now, but hasn't gotten a lot of traction. I feel like they're kind of wasting Aleister Black. Will it make sense if Aleister just wins the Royal Rumble and goes on? I just don't know. And I'm with you, Silver Surfer. I think The Fiend has gotten old too. I'm not a big fan of it either. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that. So I really don't know who's going to win this Royal Rumble. I'm kind of at a loss. If I got to pick somebody for the women, I'm going to put a gun in my head. Shayna Baszler makes a lot of sense, but I'd pick Io Shirai. Io Shirai, and we talked about this earlier with her being at the heart of rumors of her leaving the company, that she's going to be elevated to the main roster so they can pay her as a main roster person because the money in NXT is apparently not all that special. Pay her special money. Why not give her a main event spot at WrestleMania? You could build Io Shirai on the main roster over the next 3 months, and it will work. She is so fucking good, and she speaks English. She's so incredible in the ring. She has this look that is so fucking great. Go with it. Go with Io Shirai. Let her take on whoever she wants to take on. But Ronda makes a lot of sense to me too. And if they want to continue to have the buzz and continue that whole thing going, Ronda coming back and win the Rumble makes a lot of sense too. So that'll be interesting to see how it goes. As far as the men, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre. There's my list. That's my list of 3. I don't know. Who do you guys think? Put it in the comment section. Also, make sure you're over on YouTube in the next 24 hours because this episode will be uploaded there. Put it in the comment sections. Hit me up on Twitter at DeadOnDaveV. Let me know who you think is going to be the winner of the men and women's Royal Rumble match. Are we still going to call it the Women's Royal Rumble match? Let me know what you think on all the topics that we talked about and more. And if any of you hard-charging go-getters want to do me a big favor, if you want to go through the rest of this episode and find all the different topics that I talked about and when I spoke about them, if you want to give me that, I'll upload it into the uploads on YouTube. I've had a couple people talk to me about it, saying that they would like to see that. I'm really not interested in doing it. Watch the whole fucking show or not at all. But if people want to get the topics that we talked about today, I'll gladly put it in the description box so people can find them a little bit easier when it's uploaded on the YouTubes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I do greatly appreciate you. I don't see anybody in the Discord that wanted to talk, so I'm going to disconnect from there. Remember, the Discord is open. We'd love to hear from you. So hopefully next time you guys will come bullshit with me a little bit. Tomorrow night, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just like today, we will be live once again, but tomorrow it's going to be all about Onision. Tomorrow it's going to be all about Chris Hansen. Tomorrow it's going to be all about Jay Station, who is, by the moment, looking to be more and more of a disgusting piece of shit that might need to go. It might be time for him to get the fuck out and take Onision with you, motherfucker. We'll see how that goes, but that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So please be here for that or be rectangled. I appreciate you hanging out. I hope you had a fun time. We'll see you next time. I'm going to be back in a few minutes, by the way. I'm going to be back probably playing a video game in the next 20, 30 minutes, so come back for that. Thank you all very much. Keep it copious. And remember, as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends. Good night.